The basement of the Mariupol steelwork may not have been built to be called home, but emerging from beneath it are its reluctant residents. Those who sought refuge here are finally able to leave without the fatal rain of Russian shells. This is the first time some have seen daylight in months, but the picture of their city will be different to the one they remember, as they are transported through it by bus. This is goodbye to the lives they knew.
Дома нету, конечно, нету. Он не может быть целым, потому что там бомбежки каждый день были. Сколько мы сидели в бункере, сколько их бомбили.
В течение месяца, допустим, мы ели 40 с лишним человек, 6 консерв, с них варилось 2 ведра супа и все. Это на целый день. Думали на 2-3 дня, а вот с 24 числа, с февраля.
Yelena thought she would be in the steelworks just 2 days. She was there 2 months until now. This UN and Red Cross-led evacuation came from a hard-fought negotiation, but every agreement in this conflict is fragile. This passage has been declared safe, but for how long? Those on board here are en route to Zaporizhzhia, that has welcomed the first arrivals out of Mariupol since the passage opened. Many had driven themselves here. Natalia arrived in a funeral van. She had been hiding in a basement near Mariupol.
Жили в подвале. С 27 февраля мы уже не выходили, так как наш дом находится неподалеку от Азовстали. Ну и постоянно прилетали мины, потом пошли авиаудары. Дом наш полностью разрушен, у нас двухэтажное строение, ну его нет, сгорел дотла.
Natalia is now out from under the flight path of missiles that continue to rain in Ukraine. The casualties are growing. This is one of Luhansk's most historic schools today. There are reports of rockets in Odessa too. But from the flames of despair, diplomacy and international pressure has enabled this small mercy, and both continue. This picture of the evacuation effort is from the Russian Defense Ministry. These are the pictures they're keen to show amidst reports of further shelling. Today, UEFA said Russia's World Cup bid was ineligible following its occupation. This operation has lasted several days, and it's not over yet. More civilians remain in need of escape, whilst the agreement holds.
Well, now the US Congress is set to consider a request from President Biden to endorse a new $33 billion spending package for Ukraine. This after a high-profile visit to Kyiv by the House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and other leading Democrats. Let's get more now from our Washington correspondent Siobhan Kennedy. Siobhan.
Well, Kathy, this is the second senior high-ranking visit from the US administration to Ukraine in the space of a week, and really underscores that much more visible presence and support we're seeing from America. Remember, it was only a week ago that the Secretary of State and the Secretary of Defense visited with President Zelensky in Ukraine. And now here we have Nancy Pelosi, the most senior Democrat in Congress, in Poland today, having herself visited with Kyiv over the weekend, where she brought this message too of additional support and a new kind of end of war game that she says that America has, that they would stand by Ukraine until victory is won. That follows on, of course, from the Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin's view last week when he said that America wanted to see Russia weakened and spoke of us as in America winning the war. This, as his Defense Department today has tweeted images of American M777 howitzers being loaded onto planes to make their way to Ukraine. These are long-range artillery systems that are particularly crucial in the fight in the Donbass region of the east. And then tomorrow, Joe Biden himself will tour a factory in Alabama where they make Javelin anti-tank missiles. Again, another chance for him to show that America is in this for the long haul. Of course, all this goes hand in hand with additional funding, and as soon as Nancy Pelosi arrives back here in the US, she is expected to begin passage of that new $33 billion request for additional funding, which, unlike pretty much everything else here in the US, is expected to gain bipartisan support and move through Congress very quickly.
Returning to our top story now, and earlier I spoke to Nina Khrushcheva, great-granddaughter of Nikita Khrushchev. He was Soviet leader during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when the world appeared to be on the brink of nuclear confrontation. She's now Professor of International Affairs at the New School in New York. I began by asking her to explain her claim last week that the threat of nuclear war was now greater than ever.
I don't know if it's bigger, but it's certainly different. And the difference is that when the nuclear threat became absolutely apparent, Khrushchev toned it down, Kennedy toned it down. And in fact, Khrushchev was almost begging for cooperation right after they resolved the crisis. I'm just not seeing that kind of responsible behavior on the participants' part.
One of the scary things, I think, for everyone watching is no one knows what's going on inside Putin's head. And so knowing what you do and having watched so closely over the years as you have, what do you think might persuade him to step back from the brink, to refrain from going all the way, going nuclear?
I do not know what can stop Vladimir Putin from finishing this operation. There was a hope there would be May 9th, which is, as you know, so Russian Victory Day. Is it the final Russian takeover of Mariupol? Is it the Rubo territory that they are now establishing in all the territories that Russia occupied in East Ukraine? It all depends when Putin decides what is enough of a victory for him. And we don't know that yet.
And what have you made of his recent appearances, looking a bit shaky? A lot of speculation that he's unwell. Do you think he is?
There've been a lot of speculation that he's unwell, has been for quite some time, since he got his Botox in 2010. It clearly didn't work out for him, and so his face just got slightly shaky. Then there was COVID, and I do think that COVID emotionally, psychologically had horrible effect on him. We saw it. We've seen it all the time with his giant tables that he keeps his negotiators far away, that when he speaks, his hands are sometimes just sort of slightly shaky. One of the speculations is that potentially the reason he was so quick suddenly, when he actually was going on with negotiations, suddenly declare this special operation, just almost like falling off the cliff at the time. It seemed like it is because he's really in a hurry to leave some sort of legacy of this uniter of the Russian-speaking Slavic lands. So it is possible, but once again, I mean, Kremlin politics is so Byzantine. We would not know it until it's over. We really wouldn't know it until it's over.
How long can Russia afford the incredible losses it's suffering?
If Russia cannot afford it, it would still be able to afford it, in a sense that it will be, the propaganda will be such that it will be ready to go and fight against the whole West. So whatever this discomfort that sanctions may bring to the West in Russia will be taken the way it was. I mean, it's a very perverse logic, but it would be the way in World War II it was taken, is that we have to defend ourselves to the last drop of blood. So even if it will not be able to afford the war financially, it will certainly be ready and insistent on affording the war in human terms, in ideological terms, and any other terms. And that would be the very, very dangerous thing, because I think at that point, if it gets to that, then once again, not predicting, just analyzing, it is possible that Putin may be ready to get down Russia with the world together.
I mean, that brings us back finally to where we began this interview and the nuclear prospect. Do you feel, knowing everything you know about Russia's relationship with the West, do you feel this will end up in a nuclear conflict?
I hope not.
But do you feel it might?
I hope not.
I can see you're choosing your words very carefully. Thank you very much, Nina Khrushcheva. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.